Good evening. I'm Rohit Sharma and welcome to Desi from DC, coming to you every night from heart of Washington. This is where America's power corridor meet India's prime time to break down the political, economic, and global stories that shape both nations live from Washington DC. From Capitol Hill to Raisana Hill, we connect the dots between what happens here in Washington and how it echoes back home in India. We begin tonight with the big stories of the day. Trump orders permanent migration pause from third world countries as processing halts begin. India's economy grows 8.2% in the second quarter, the fastest pace in 6 quarters. Trump orders 11 icebreakers as US trails Russia 48-1 in Arctic race. US will not commemorate World AIDS Day for the first time in 37 years. White House seeks new power to track and destroy drones across US airspace ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And Tennessee's special election could signal shift in GOP power ahead of 2026. There's a lot of noise in America today. Headlines, reactions, outrage, confusion. All triggered by one sentence from President Donald Trump. He posted on Truth Social, he will permanently pause migration from third world countries. And instantly the debate exploded. But let's step back. Let's look at the facts, the policy steps already being taken, and why the administration says that this pause is truly necessary. Because beyond politics, American politicians on both sides over decades have expressed that there is a genuine reason to reassess a system that has been overwhelmed, exploited, and in many cases simply not fit for the purpose. The president's statement came after the shooting involving an Afghan immigrant on Wednesday. His message on Truth Social was blunt. The US must regain control of who enters the country. And therefore, he intends to pause migration, reassess existing vetting mechanisms, and restart the system with much needed stricter standards. He didn't give any list of countries, but there were no details, just a direction, a reset. But while the language was broad, the response from federal agencies was immediate and, as you would expect, concrete. In the last 48 hours, 3 major immigration shifts have already taken place. USCIS has halted all immigration processing for all Afghan nationals. And this is not symbolic. For USCIS, it is a full stop. Green cards of individuals from countries of concern are being re-looked at. This means background checks, entry verification, and interviews, a fresh look at every file. The administration has ordered a review of more than 233,000 refugees who were admitted under the previous government, which was the Biden administration. Now, their cases will be rescreened to ensure eligibility and national security compliance. These steps alone reflect a clear philosophy of the existing administration, which is security, scrutiny, and stability comes first. Some critics call this extreme, but let's look at the context. The US immigration system has been under strain for years. It hasn't been reformed in over 3.5 decades. The borders have encountered record levels of people coming in. There's backlogs in millions, and inconsistent policy guidance every time when there's a change of presidency. So Trump's position is simple: pause, review, and strengthen. His supporters argue, think of it like renovating a house. You can't fix the wiring while the front door is wide open. Now, there is the nuance to this. Trump's statement is not a full legal order, meaning there is no published proclamation detailing the pause. So courts and Congress will debate the scope and legality. But what matters is this: the US government has every legal right to reassess immigration categories in the interest of national security. It has done so many times before. During COVID, after 9/11, and under multiple administrations. So this pause is not unprecedented. What is unprecedented is the scale of reviews already underway. Will the pause inconvenience some? Yes. Will it affect applicants in the US and those waiting abroad? Yes. But the administration argues the short-term inconvenience is better than long-term insecurities. And there is a constituency, not small, that supports this approach. People who want orderly immigration, people who want merit-based entry, people who want a system they can trust. Republicans say this is not anti-immigrant. This is pro-process, pro-security, and pro-certainty. Here's what experts expect in the next few weeks. There could be a formal legal definition of the word pause, a country-by-country risk assessment, revised visa and refugee screening procedures, new financial and background verification standards, and possibly a shift towards skill-based security-tested immigration. In short, a restructuring that could lead to a COVID-like shutdown. So what should you take away from all of this? Now, America is paying price for not reforming its immigration system for over 3.5 decades. And this administration wants to revamp it. So it is changing the lock, adding more lighting, and installing a stronger security system. It will be an attempt to restore confidence in the immigration process, something both parties have demanded for years. President Trump promised a reset. This looks like the beginning of that reset. And the coming weeks will decide how deep this overhaul goes. India's economy just delivered a stunning performance, posting its strongest growth in a year and a half. GDP surged 8.2% in July to September quarter, smashing forecasts and defying global pressures. However, the question on everyone's mind, can it last? The numbers tell a powerful story. Real GDP jumped 8.2% in the second quarter, crushing last year's 5.6%, and even beating last quarter's 7.8%. It is the fastest growth India has seen in 6 quarters. So what's fueling this surge? Manufacturing is on fire, up 9.1%. Construction is booming at 7.2%, and the real star? Services. Financial and professional sectors exploded with 10.2% jump, pushing overall services growth to 9.2%. Prime Minister Narendra Modi did not hold back his enthusiasm, calling it very encouraging and thanking Indians for their hard work and enterprise. Here's another encouraging sign. People are spending. Private consumption grew 7.9%, up from 6.4% last year. Despite patchy monsoons, demand is holding strong. But there is a catch. Agriculture, the sector that employs millions, managed just 3.5% growth. It is the weak link in an otherwise stellar performance. The bigger picture, India remains world's fastest growing major economy. The first half of this financial year delivered 8% growth, a massive jump from 6.1% last year. Now, all eyes are on what comes next. Economists are closely watching inflation trends, consumer spending patterns, and global demand conditions. The momentum is strong, but sustaining this pace into 2026 will be the real test. For now, India's economic engine is firing on all cylinders. A stunning admission from the White House. President Donald Trump acknowledged that when it comes to icebreakers, America is drastically outgunned by Russia. The gap? 48-1. Here's why Trump's plan to close that Arctic advantage matters to national security. Speaking at the White House, Trump did not mince words about the disparity. Take a look.
We're ordering icebreakers, too, that you're going to be in charge of. We have 11 of them being built right now. We had none. You know, we only have one in the whole country. Russia has 48, and we have one. And that's just ridiculous. So we're doing them in conjunction with Finland and some other people. And they make the big, they're known as the people that do, I guess, 90% of the icebreakers, so they have a great expertise. But we're doing them also as a joint venture where they're going to be built in this country, and they've already started. So we've ordered 11. You were going to build one, and the one was going to cost almost as much as the 11. And every one of the 11 is much better than the one. So that didn't sound like a good deal. So you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting the best icebreakers in the world, the top of the line, and they're going to be delivered very soon, actually. They're moving along very quickly. They're building them. And you'll end up with 11, but before we even start that, we're going to end up doing another 11 pretty soon. So you're going to have a lot of icebreakers pretty soon, which is very important, I assume. Is that important for the Coast Guard? Because if it's not, I'll cancel the order immediately.
Very important. Yes.
Okay, good. Then I won't cancel the order. That's good. You're going to have the best icebreakers there are, so it's really great. Very important to it.
It is a stark reality check. While Russia dominates Arctic waters with its massive fleet, the US Coast Guard operates just two functional polar icebreakers, one launched way back in 1976, and a commercial vessel only recently brought into the service. But Trump says help is on the way. Washington has placed an order for 11 new icebreakers from Finland, part of $6.1 billion deal finalized in October of this year. 4 will be built in Finnish shipyards, 7 in the United States. And the president did not hide his enthusiasm about the deal. Trump promised the vessels would be world-class, state-of-the-art ships, and insisted delivery would happen quickly. The urgency is real. A White House fact sheet released in October stressed urgent national security needs in the Arctic region. The Coast Guard has determined it needs at least 9 icebreakers to protect U.S. interests year-round in increasingly strategic Arctic waters. The Arctic isn't just about the ice anymore. It's about power, resources, and military positioning. And right now, Russia holds the advantage. The administration is framing the Finland deal as a stopgap measure to quickly close the capability gap. But the long-term vision is clear. Build America's icebreaker fleet at home. For now, though the US is racing to catch up in waters that are becoming more contested by the day, the Arctic race is on and America is still playing catch-up. A historic break with tradition. For the first time since 1988, the United States will not commemorate World AIDS Day. The State Department has ordered employees do not publicly promote December 1st. The directive is raising alarm and cautions about what comes next. The order is blunt. No US government funds to mark World AIDS Day. No social media posts, no speeches, no public messaging. Employees can attend events and discuss AIDS programs, but they cannot promote the day itself. The State Department claims it's refraining from all commemorative days, yet President Trump has issued proclamations for Anti-Communism Week and National Energy Dominance Month. A spokesperson's response: an awareness day is not a strategy. The move follows deeper cuts. The Trump administration has already slashed foreign aid program fighting HIV and AIDS and restricted funding for PEPFAR, the program that's prevented an estimated 25 million deaths since 2003. World AIDS Day has been observed every December 1st since 1988. Last year, President Biden displayed AIDS memorial quilt panels at the White House, honoring over 110,000 lives lost. But now, after nearly 4 decades of American leadership on global AIDS crisis, Washington appears to have gone silent. The White House wants unprecedented power to take down drones, and it's sparking a major fight in Washington. The proposal: let federal agencies detect, track, jam, and even destroy drones flying over critical sites. It's all about securing the 2026 FIFA World Cup. With 104 matches across 11 American cities next summer, but critics are sounding the alarm. This could threaten privacy and freedoms. Here's a report on the battle over who controls America's sky.
The White House is pressing Congress for sweeping new authority to take down drones flying in the US airspace. The proposal would give federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice, power to detect, track, jam, and even destroy drones that pose a threat near critical infrastructure, correctional facilities, and large public gatherings. Officials say this move comes as America prepares for a massive security challenge, the 2026 FIFA World Cup. With 104 matches across 11 American host cities next summer, experts warn the risk of malicious or unauthorized drone activity is surging. To help prepare, the administration has launched a $500 million anti-drone fund aimed at supporting state and local governments with equipment, training, and technology needed to respond to drone threats effectively. Andrew Giuliani, director of the White House's FIFA World Cup task force, says local authorities need tools to detect and disable unauthorized drones. But the proposal is stirring debate in Washington. Some lawmakers are concerned about the broad scope of powers being requested. Critics argue that the bill could give federal and local authorities excessive control over civilian airspace, potentially affecting hobby drone operators, journalists, and commercial drone businesses. Civil liberties groups have raised alarms about the risk of misuse or overreach, warning that such powers could be deployed without sufficient oversight or clear limits. They caution that ordinary Americans' privacy and freedoms could be at stake if sweeping takedown authority becomes normalized. Supporters say the legislation is necessary for public safety. They argue that without clear and comprehensive authority, agencies face challenges responding to drone threats in a timely manner, especially at large-scale events and critical infrastructure sites. Uniform federal powers, they say, will ensure faster and more effective countermeasures, preventing potentially catastrophic incidents. The legislation would also extend counter-drone authority beyond federal agencies, empowering state and local law enforcement to act when necessary. This represents a significant expansion of current powers, which are now more limited and fragmented. President Trump has tied the initiative directly to World Cup security. Speaking in the Oval Office last month, he declared the tournament will be very secure and warned he might move matches from cities that don't cooperate with the federal government.
The answer is yes. If somebody is doing a bad job, and if I feel there's unsafe conditions, I would call Johnny, the head of FIFA, who's phenomenal, and I would say, let's move it to another location. And he would do that. He wouldn't love to do it, but he'd do it. Very easily he'd do it. And this is the right time to do it.
The debate now moves to Congress, where lawmakers will weigh the balance between security and civil liberties. Questions remain about what safeguards will be included, such as transparency measures, limits on scope, and accountability mechanisms. As drones become more common in everyday life, from hobbyists flying in local parks to commercial delivery services, policymakers face the challenge of regulating airspace while protecting individual rights. How this legislation unfolds will shape America's skies for years to come, defining who has the power to fly and who has the power to bring drones down.
A tight race in Tennessee has Republicans sounding the alarm, and President Trump personally urging voters to go to the polls. The special election on December 2nd could signal a major shift in GOP power heading into 2026. A district Trump won by more than 20 points has suddenly become a nail-biter. What's behind the surge, and what does it mean for the midterms ahead? The numbers tell a story. Republican Matt Van Epps leads Democrat Afghan just 48% to 46% in the latest Emerson College poll, with 5% still undecided. Now do understand, this is a deep red district. Former Representative Mark Green won it by 21 points. And Trump, just last year, carried Tennessee by 30 points. But now, it's become anyone's race. The panic is real. Trump took to Truth Social, imploring all America First patriots to vote for Epps, calling him a MAGA warrior, who has his complete and total endorsement. Conservative journalist Eric Daughtry issued a blunt warning. Republicans must win this race or face serious consequences. The GOP's House majority is razor thin, 219 seats to Democrats' 213. Every seat matters. Lose this one, and Trump's agenda in his final 2 years becomes much harder to push through Congress. So what's driving this shift? Early voters backed Ben 56 to 42%. Her message on lowering grocery, housing, and healthcare costs is resonating across party lines. Democrats just overperformed in Virginia and New Jersey, and now they're eyeing Tennessee. If Ben pulls this off, or even comes close, one political scientist warns it could signal a GOP bloodbath in 2026. The vote happens on December 2nd. What happens in this deep red district could foreshadow what's coming nationwide next year. And finally, tonight, a sight that signals the holidays are truly here. Thousands packed Manhattan streets for the 99th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Giant balloons, spectacular floats, and plenty of star power. SpongeBob, Spider-Man, Dora the Explorer floated above the crowds, while performers brought the soundtrack from K-pop Demon Hunters to life. And of course, Santa Claus made his grand entrance, officially kicking off the Christmas season. A reminder that even in a year full of headlines, some traditions never change. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Desi from DC. This is Rohit Sharma for India Today and India Today Global. And if you're watching this on India Today Global, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button before you leave. Stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay curious. We'll see you next Monday.